one thing to think about is that think about the difference between a model. So Steve, for instance, has services that he provides that are demonstrations of craft making. So for Steve to do a prototype, Steve doesn't get to like build a diorama of people experiencing. I mean, you can build a diorama if you want,
I
but
insist that you haven't built that because it'd be great.
Well, you know, we could start with
I know
the
that Chris
small.
would help. But the diorama model is not the key. What Steve has to do is actually prototype by teaching something differently than he's taught it before and testing that out. So he needs to do a mini version of one of his demonstrations, or he needs to do it for a smaller number of people. So he's actually getting the experience of what are the materials that I needed? How do people respond? Steve might have some experiments and some surveys, even from 5-year-olds, that you want to have them answer questions about what they learned and what they felt, what color they felt they were during that process. And for some of you, it's going to be way more specific. You may actually build an actual prototype of a piece of furniture, or you may have designs for it that you've made halfway through. It's really up to you, because this is for you. So it's not for me. It's for you to actually figure out and test what you might want to be. So for Mona, it may be that you want to play with how some of your products are displayed and do some testing of what's selling, you know, depending on how you load up one room versus another room, and what products, you know, help sell some other products. I mean, these are all different things. They're going to be different for each and every one of you about what it is that you're doing. And for some of you, it may also be as much about what the process is for you to make what it is that you're making. How long does it take? How long would it take to train someone else to make it if you're actually trying to scale what you're making rather than just having yourself make it? All of those things are really important. So for you all, thinking about all of those different experiments is part of what's going to help you have a successful prototype. So what for you is going to be the option? And I think for some of you, you may get to the place where you're able to offer a product that we could, you know, and I'm going to offer this up even though I don't have authority to do so, that even for those of you that are not a part of Berea College, that if you needed some help, we could load a product onto the website and allow you to get some feedback. Maybe not sell it, but get some feedback if that is helpful for you all. Some of you have websites already, yes? Do you have one?
That is a website.
Okay.
Yes, that is a website.
So having a website might be a part of your prototype. Seriously, because for you, you have to make the time. That's your best marketing opportunity. If you can't sell those brooms, you gotta, and you know, there are definitely, Steve is in a similar boat, lots of people are in similar boats. Squarespace, Weebly, awesome products.
What'd you say?
Wix.
Squarespace, sorry, yeah, and
Squarespace.
Wix is all right. Weebly, I like Weebly a lot. They make, yes, or W-E-E-B, sort of, W-E-E-B-L-Y.
I think a SquarePants.
Why do you like
Is that the
Weebly?
SpongeBob SquarePants?
I think that their support is really good, and that's what you all need, is you need to not be a developer of a website. So you want a website that's easy to use and easy to design, and so that you aren't spending a bunch of time on it, you're just using the technology to do it. But you know, I know you must have pictures of your brooms, and I know you've written history about your brooms and the history of broom making. All of that stuff can be on that website that starts to tell the story of what your brooms are, and it gives you another way to sell. So think about that for all of us, that some of what your prototype may include is actually the marketing process or the marketing strategy may be a part of what you're trying to prototype. So, this is another thing to think about. Have any of you heard of split testing? Yes and
Is
no.
that like
So,
newspapers? Is that like when newspapers will put a headline in one area and another area will have a different headline?
that is an example, yes, absolutely. So it's figuring out how people respond to two different products. So if you had a headline that said, war started, versus a headline that said, war began, and who clicked on which, I can't believe that we're not even talking about reading, who clicked on which of those headlines would be a split test to figure out what was going to gain traffic. So for you all, when you're thinking about your products, particularly when a conversation that we keep having is about price, this could be a way to think about pricing things. You might have a high-end version, you might have a medium version, you might have a low version, and try and get feedback that helps you understand how much time you're having to spend on making those items, because maybe they really take the same amount of time, it's just a different finish process. That gets you to a different price point. You want to learn that as soon as you can. So designing a couple different versions of what you are imagining making is key. And again, that's part of what can happen by using a website, by using survey tools. Lots of them are free, and I'm happy to give advice along the way. So who has this big fear about stealing?
Having something
Copying
stolen
or
from you?
stealing?
Well, copying.
Take it
So,
to another idea,
This is
they
one of
might
those
figure out.
things that we all struggle with, like, oh, I'm making this thing that is so amazing, and what if I put it out there? Is someone just gonna copy it and do it cheaper, do it differently, or tweak it enough that, and they're gonna win? Well, so that is a fear that we all have to just get over, because the chance of that happening, we can't predict. It could happen, but the real question is, did you do the work? And did you, if someone likes something so much that you made that they want to copy it and do it differently, if you're going to spend your life being mad that they did that, that's really not going to help you too much. I mean, the sad reality is there is not a lot of originality out there.
Well, it's kind of a compliment too, someone takes one of your ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Must have thought it was pretty great.
So if you have these fears, they are real, and I'm not in any way dismissing them. They're real emotions, but this is such not something that should keep you from doing the work. And so if you need a pep talk from someone in here, make sure you ask for that help to get that, because this is not what this shouldn't stop us from making our work. We've got to put our stuff out there, because the only way we know, again, if it's any good, is to get feedback. And if somebody steals it, none of us are really designing a multi-million-dollar idea here that we think. And if you are, it's probably going to require more than the people in this room and yourself in order to make that happen. So it's not really just your idea. It's got to get bigger in order to go that way. So I would just say, keep your mind open and try not to worry about having people steal your great idea, because as great as it may be, it probably either frankly isn't that great, or it's not that it's not great, it's just that it's not something that's going to be stolen and is going to ruin your life.
I still think artists want to cheapen themselves to try to beat that.
Absolutely.
What?
So Banksy, are you familiar with Banksy, the fabulous graffiti bandit? The bad artists imitate, great artists steal. So when you can tell it's an imitation, then you know it's a knockoff. When you see that a piece has been transformed because it became something bigger, better, more different, in a way that is no longer just about an imitation, that's what you all should be aspiring to, and what you should hope that other people are riffing off of your work. Not ripping off, but riffing off in the jazz way. making it better. So, all right, you're gonna have 7 whole minutes to design your life. So here's what you wanna do. What are you doing? What are the assumptions that you're testing? So go back to what that first little exercise from today and dig into that. Make sure that you don't forget about some of those assumptions that were starred on your little list that matter. How much are you gonna charge? Who is involved? How does it align with your goals and with your vision and mission? And this is actually really important. When does it start and when does it end? You are not under any requirements to finish your prototype on some specific date. The reality of this class is you have until January without me bothering you. But you have life and the holidays and the busiest season of the year facing you, so there is that reality. But by January, when we have our first session, you don't have to have your prototype done. It needs to be in process, though. Otherwise, you're going to start to lose the ability to get impact from this class and from these
So what's
sessions.
the last day that we're doing the?
So the day that we'll be doing presentations is February, whatever. It's in our book.
Is that when we're done?
That's when we're done. February
Day
13th?
before Valentine's.
Thank you. Yeah, so we come back on January 9th. We meet again on the 23rd and the 30th. And then the 6th, we'll have one more session. And then by the 13th, you should be in a place where you're able to talk about what you learned and what your new product, whatever the heck it is, that may have been transformed. So, you know, there's a little stumbling moment at the end there when you could decide. And don't forget that presentation is for you. So it's not, you know, all of you don't need to have a 20-page business plan ready to go to the small business development office to get a loan. If that is not appropriate for you, then that is not what you should be talking about and making a presentation about. You should do what is relevant for you and that is going to help where it is that you are in this process, if that makes sense. But so this gives you a chance. Spend 7 minutes, start to put some of the structure around what it is, how long you think it's going to take, what are the deadlines that you need to give yourself in order to get to something being tested, tried, so that you actually can move into. How am I going to market it? How am I going to design? How am I going to build it for reals? Not the prototype version, but the for reals version.